Profit is no longer a forgotten leftover, like the 2 doggy boxes you got a few days ago at the restaurant because you just had to make sure you got your money's worth. Bet you hadn't put that thought into writing before, had you? Yes, that's it. That's exactly the reason we get doggy bags. And oh my God, if you don't, you know for sure there is someone in the group who will question your sanity when you leave uneaten food behind, even saying, well, if you're not taking it, I will. You know exactly who I'm talking about, don't you? You're listening to the Unshackle Your Life podcast with Debbie Colburn, the place to break through all of the hidden things that hold each of us back, things that scare us and things that challenge us, and things we're just plain fed up with. We talk all things money and business, big and small. We dive deep, we get real, and we get raw, discovering and exploring what is really possible for you. It's a restart. If you've ever struggled with shame, worry, or just plain self-doubt, if you've ever thought it's not enough when you looked at your bank account or your credit card, if you're sick and tired of living a cycle of crisis to crisis to crisis, no matter whether it's in your personal life, in your business, or your relationships, then this is where you need to be. We'll bring you new ideas, tips, and tactics, and connect you to the resources to get you unlocking your own shackles and release your unique abilities. No matter what's going on in your life right now, maybe you're in survival mode, just barely getting by, living day-to-day, paycheck to paycheck. Maybe you're in a job or a career or running a business that is leaving you on empty, depleted, uninspired, or anything in between. I've got you back. Ready? So buckle on up, take a deep breath, and join me in a conversation about jump-starting your life and breaking free of your shackles and create that thing that you've been scared to ask for. Welcome to episode 96. Have you ever considered that you are living your life technically bankrupt? Confused? Let me rephrase it. If you were a business and your expenses exceeded your sales, you would be out of business pretty quickly, wouldn't you? Yet, in our personal lives, we do this every week, month after month, year after year. We just call it something different, like living month to month or paycheck to paycheck, don't we? And somehow, through the magic of robbing Peter to pay Paul, we survive to do it all again the next month. If you can say with 100% certainty, with confidentiality and subject to a CRA or IRS audit that that's not you, that you are living your rich life, fully doing all the things your heart desires, please reach out to me because I'd love to hear what you are doing differently. Okay, so my emails are not blowing up and my phone isn't ringing off the hook. Today, you guessed it, we're talking about profit. And I'm going to challenge some of your thinking in a good way. Most of you know that for 20 plus years, I was a professional accountant, a very successful one, very well paid one. And in that world, we lived by a set of rules, the things called generally accepted accounting principles. Every business was to follow them. They're still in place today. Some very simple and some complex. And we never questioned who it was who generally accepted them. I sure didn't. Advising my clients otherwise would get me tossed out of the profession. Get to the point, Debbie. Okay. Have you ever heard the acronym EBITDA? Said like this, EBITDA. And maybe it's better said EBITDA. It stands for Earnings Before Income Taxes and Depreciable Assets. It's 2 levels above profit, 1 level above EBIT, and a world away from a number that any normal person could understand. And ultimately, it's created by this simple GAAP. That's the acronym for Generally Accepted Accounting Principles, GAAP. Sales minus expenses equals profit. So in your personal life, it would be what I or my family earn minus what we spend equals our bank balance. So for an example, $70,000, what I earn minus $75,000, what we spend equals minus 5,000, and that's red, right? It's a loss. It's not an earning. $425,000 minus $425,000. So I earn $425,000. Our family earns that. We spend $425,000, and the end result of that equation is zero. And that's definitely not in the black, is it? And it kind of sucks, right? You are definitely not dancing around the room singing Timbuk's "The Future's So Bright, Things Are Going Great, and They're Only Getting Better. I'm doing all right, and I'm getting good grades. The future's so bright, I gotta wear shades, I gotta wear shades." I know, there's a reason that I'm not in music. But you could be singing that. And if you don't know that one, just YouTube it, okay? Timbuk, "The Future's So Bright." And you know in your heart, that little voice, your inner gazoo, is watching out for you and is trying to get your attention. And he's saying, what the heck are you doing? Every time you pull out your debit card, every time you pull out your credit card, every time you get on online and you're on Amazon and you're ordering everything online, like the last 2 years this has been a big challenge. You know, news says that people have more money in their savings and stuff. I don't believe that. There may be some people, but I can tell you that the people that I see and I'm talking to and so on, that is not the situation. My inner gazoo has probably had 1,000 concussions. The number of times that I've reached over and literally punched him off my shoulder and told him to mind his own business. And he's been right most of the time. And it's funny, I remember now more of the times he's been right rather than the times he was trying to lure me into some seedy activity that felt out of alignment. And you guys know my story. It wasn't always that way for me. What if there was a way that you could transform your life so that you're no longer living under that shroud of financial stress? Because it's taking a toll on your body. Gabor Mate has an incredible book called The Hidden Effects of Stress or something like that. It's a pretty technical book, but stress shows up in so many different ways in your body, and you know it. You feel it in your body. It's heavy. What if there was a way that you and your partner could talk openly about money and actually understand what the other person is saying and what they're feeling? There is so much truth to the book title, "Men are from Mars, and women are from Venus," because not only do we use different words and phrases to describe our situation, what we're thinking about something, we each trigger different types of emotional responses to money. And then when you compound that with the exponential number of family situations and experiences that we each have individually, well, imagine we take those generally accepted accounting principles that we silently and unwittingly, even when we're not professional accountants, adopted them in our own personal lives. And we flip that on its head. Disrupt it. Then it looks something like this. Sales minus profit equals expenses. Can you just see what happens? Can you see that? Sales minus profit equals expenses. Profit is no longer a forgotten leftover like the 2 doggy boxes that you got a few days ago at the restaurant, because you just had to make sure that you got your money's worth. I bet you hadn't put that thought into writing before, had you? Yes, that's it. That's exactly the reason that we get doggy bags. And OMG, if you don't, you know for sure that there's someone in the group who will question your sanity when you leave uneaten food behind, even saying, "Well, if you're not going to take it, I will." I know. I've been there. You know exactly who I'm talking about, don't you? When you take your profit, and it doesn't matter if we're talking about profit in your business, no matter how big or small your business is, or savings and investments in your personal life, or both, and don't touch it. You create your own personal Fort Knox with a high-tech security system. Everything in your life changes because now you are free to spend everything in the expenses bucket. You will not put yourself in the red ever again. Now, for you business owners, let's talk about what happens when you do this both in your business and in your personal lives. You got it, a twofer. Because you're actually paying yourself a salary from your company, not being a volunteer, right? And I've got some tips on how to make that happen every single time. Business in profit. Personal life in the black. For good. From one simple change, a math equation. Here's the thing. The financial industry has made banking, saving, investments so complex, no matter what the Facebook ads say or the Google ads say or the financial advisors say. It's not easy to understand, even for those of us in that industry. They've made it so complex that the average person really has no clue as to their financial health. And even people with hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars in the bank either think they're rich or broke, but most have no clue. And some even think the exact opposite of what the reality is. It's nuts. My goal is to help as many people as possible shift their thinking about money and adopt some habits and get some rules in place for themselves that work symbiotically with our human nature. And I know it's possible because that's what I've done in my life. And I know lots of people who've been able to do it. It's in our nature to use all our resources. Time, for example. Whatever you have to do with always expands to the amount of time you have available. You've heard me talk about sloppy planning. And you just have to look. If you don't have a specific time scheduled out to do something, however much time you have, that thing will expand to use up all of that time. And that's how author C. Northcott Parkinson described it in his book, Parkinson's Law, or The Pursuit of Progress. Yes, it's an older book, but it's still very, very, very true. So it makes sense to think it also applies to money, our monetary resources. Why? Because you just have to look at your bank statements year after year. That's all the evidence you need. There is zero left at the end of the month. And if you follow my training and stuff like that, you'll understand that when I say there's zero left at the end of the month, I don't always mean zero as in $0, but in most people's case, that is the situation. And it's not a strategic choice. And that's exactly why when we flip the gap principle, sales minus expenses equals profit, on its head into sales minus profit equals expenses, that's why it works. Because we're not trying to change our human nature. We're just working with it. When I started using Ramit Sethi's I Will Teach You to Be Rich concept, it worked. And when I started using Mike Michalowicz's Profit First concept, it also works. And they're both very similar concept. One's for personal, one's for business, but they're very similar. The transformation is not an overnight success. It may take a few months, it may take a year or two to get consistently in the black, especially if you've been in this for a long time. If you're a millennial, and I hope every once in a while there's a millennial, or a Gen Z listening to this, then you can fix this quicker in both areas. And yes, neither of these will work really well if you are not also working on your beliefs, your BS stories, your money stories, improving your relationship with money, releasing your blocks, getting yourself more into alignment, understanding your values, all those pieces, all that. Let's call that all the softer stuff. And that's a lifelong continual process. And it is a critical key. All those things is what I work on with people in both our Breakthrough Navigator program and in the VIP Breakthrough Accelerator. And if that interests you, just grab the link in the show notes. Now, there's a lot here. And my wish is that you take something away that today will encourage you to take the next step, to start building a bias for action into your daily life. You already know that your thinking is what drives everything. So we've created a new daily affirmation sent to you every single day for 90 days so that you can unlock every day with intention. And you can just go sign up for that. It's free at DebbieColburn.com/unlock the day, all one word. So we're here. We're at the end. Time for that question I ask everyone at the end of each episode. What is the best thing that could happen in your life if you unlock just one of your shackles today? Hey, if this podcast got you thinking, please make sure you're subscribed and share it with anyone who needs to hear this. The link is in the show notes, and please drop us a review on whatever podcast player that you're listening on, whether it's Apple Podcasts, whether it's Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, you name it. And make sure that you drop over to our website, DebbieColburn.com/links/ that's DebbieColburn.com/links/ to get our brand new 7-day quick action guide and to check out what's coming up in 2022. And please make sure that you're following us on LinkedIn and on Instagram, just to keep you on your toes, as a slightly different name, at MS Debbie Colburn.